Hi, what's up, agents? Today I want to discuss Descent and where I feel it falls in line with other modes that have been released in the Division franchise. So it's the brand new game mode that came in Season 1 of Year 5, and there's a lot of mixed reaction around this. Some people really love Descent, myself included. I'm really enjoying it. Some people really hate it. Some people are on the fence and say it needs some adjustments and it needs some work on. But where does it fall? Like, how good of a game mode is it? And what I want to do in today's video is go over all the different game modes that have been on the Division, so in the Division 1 and the Division 2, and kind of rank them in order of how I feel they are, and place Descent on that list. So we're not talking raids on the Division, we're not talking incursions or Dark Zone or anything like that. The modes that I've limited it down to is on the Division 1, we've got Conflict, Underground, Survival, Last Stand and Resistance, and on the Division 2, we've got Conflict, Summit, Countdown, and Descent. So I'm going to rank these now, going from the 9th best all the way to my favorite. I'm going to position Descent in there and discuss each mode and why I enjoy them as we go through in this video today. I thought it'd be cool. I want you to share your opinions as well down in the comments. Where do you rank all the Division modes from Division 1 and Division 2? Which one's your favorite mode that they've done? And what would you like to see in the future? What do you think would challenge this list of Division modes? If you enjoyed today's video, please do hit like and share to support it. Subscribe for more content from myself. And also just a plug to our fantastic community. If you want to play any of these modes on the Division, need any help with the games whatsoever, when you finish with today's video, come and check us out. It's linked at the top of the video description. But we're going to get straight into this now. So at number 9 on my list across the two games, my worst game mode is the Division 2 Conflict. Although we have had a lot of fun on this, we have streamed it, we've had some fun. I just don't feel PvP on the Division 2 in general is that good. I feel it fell far too short compared to the Division 1. And it's been one of my biggest complaints about the game. I do enjoy the game PvE-wise much more, so I haven't invested a lot of time in PvP. And yeah, Conflict for me on the Division 2 just isn't as good as it could be. I feel it's dominated by like those meta builds, skill builds, and right now with how like you know how populated the game is, you're only really running against teams that play the mode all the time. So if you're casual and you just want to run with your friends, you're probably going to get dominated. It's not that fun, and it ranks 9 on my list of modes. At number 8 is the Summit. Although I really enjoyed this when it first came out, we did a whole community event around this mode. We did a race to floor 100, and it was so much fun. And when you got to floor 100, it was a nice surprise. You killed the hunters, you got a project, you had to complete the project then to get the Ridge Rays Pride exotic chest piece, and it did have targeted loot. So after that, it kind of was replayable because you could target your loot on the Summit, and it was quite a good way to farm your builds. There's also been some like XP cheese on the Summit in the past, and a good way to use floors to your advantage to get a ton of targeted loot to drop. That all kind of came to the end later on though when they released Countdown, which we'll speak about soon. And when Countdown was released, it really did make Summit void for me. There's no replayability, there's no real need to use the Summit unless you were using the XP cheese before they fixed it. And the mode itself was very, I thought, kind of bland. It was so repetitive. Every floor felt the same. It felt kind of dull. It's a skyscraper that you're climbing up, but there's no windows to look out of. There's so many different complaints about this. And out of all the modes that the Division have released, this is one of those modes where it did kind of like have a lifespan, and that came to an end. So it's at number 8 for me. Number 7, I have Conflict on the Division 1. And with everything I said about Conflict on the Division 2, I felt it was done much better on the Division 1. PvP in general on the first game was so much better. I know we're not including the Dark Zone in this list of modes, but the Dark Zone kind of ruled all on the Division 1. It was so much fun. But Conflict was fun as well. Like, what I feel it had with the Division 2 doesn't really. It's just a lot more balanced and even for your team. Skills really didn't come into that much. It felt like there's a counter for skills, so they didn't overpower. Yes, there was kind of those meta builds, but that all came about towards the end when classified gear sets were a thing, and there's like 3 or 4 classified sets that everybody used, which kind of ruined the build diversity, but it made things like Skirmish very even because that's what everyone was using, and you can have a lot of fun in Skirmish, in Conflict, and that's kind of why I rate it at number 7 in the list of all the all-time game modes. I had to dig back far for clips of the Underground. This clip here was 5 years ago. I wasn't even at 1,000 subs. But anyway, number 6, on my list of my favorite game modes in the Division is Underground. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me about this because some people absolutely loved the Underground game mode. And I appreciated it. I get why people really enjoyed it, but for me, I kind of struggled with it. I got to a point where I was in. I wanted to go through all the commendations. The commendations for Underground and the Division 1 were insane. You really had to put so much time into getting all of them, and people did it. They loved it that much, but I kind of just hit a wall with the Underground, and one of the hardest things to do with it was to do all 3 phases on the hardest difficulty flawlessly. Kind of enjoyed that challenge, but after that, it just got a bit too repetitive for me. But I did enjoy it to a degree where it's 6 on my list, and I know a lot of people place this higher. Be interesting to see what you say in the comments about this and where you place Underground. Again, I'm digging back for these clips. Next up at number 5 for me is Last Stand. The quality of this clip is dreadful. I'm sorry about that. Last Stand, again, I'm sure a lot of people will place this higher on their list because Last Stand was such a good PvP mode on the Division 1. I did play it a lot myself, but I preferred the Dark Zone again. So on the Division 1, I was mainly in the Dark Zone above all else. I wasn't really playing Conflict, but I did play Last Stand more than Conflict. I mean, you had a good squad together. This was so much fun. It was kind of like, I want to say like a domination sort of mode where you had points you had to capture, and the more points that you had captured, the higher your score would go up, and then you had to reach a certain score. There's other things you could do. There's other modifiers. You run around the map and collect other stuff, and there's kind of like a PvE element to it as well, which kind of seemed pointless at times. Most people just went in this and tried to dominate the points that you had to control, and you had a lot of fun. I had a very good run on this mode. This video is what I found. It's my personal best on Last Stand, and I did enjoy it a lot. It's why it's at number 5 on my list of top modes for the Division. At number 4, I rate Resistance as the 4th best game mode we have had. Resistance came very late in the Division 1 life, and it was just basically like a Horde wave mode. You started at wave 1, you had loads of hordes of enemies to kill, you moved to wave 2, wave 3, wave and so on. Hunters were involved in this when you reached a certain wave. Was it every 10, I think? And the aim of Resistance was basically to get as high as you could. They had 3 different maps from what I remember. I used to always love this map that's on screen now, and this was the one we always focused on. And yeah, there's leaderboards, and that was the main aim of the game, is just to get as high as you can and compete for the top of those leaderboards. There's some people that religiously played this. They loved it that much. I'm trying to think of the guy. A shout out to Mr. Commendation. I think he streamed this tons. He still streamed this mode when the Division 2 was out and in full flow. I'd say even after a year or two of the Division 2 being out, that guy was still going back and going for like world records or personal best rather for himself on Resistance. And it was a good mode. Some people really fell in love with it. So again, it's going to be interested to see in the comments where you rate Resistance. I rate it at number 4. I had a shitloads of fun with this. It was so good. But not quite the best mode the Division has ever offered. And now on to my top 3 and the controversial, I guess, Descent game mode. I'm placing this at number 3 for all the reasons I just mentioned about Resistance. I kind of see, although completely different, it isn't like Resistance in gameplay, but I feel like Descent should have that element of people are going to compete for the top of those leaderboards. You know, you rather than waves, you have loops, and it's going to be about what's the highest loop you can get as a team. Completely different to Resistance, though. You are going to be going through loops, and you start with nothing, kind of like survival on the Division 1. And as you go through the mode, you're going to make decisions on how best to make your build with talents, with weapons, with skills, and you'll come increasingly stronger as you go loop by loop by loop. There's like a boss encounter as well, the Nemesis, which kind of like brings an end to your game, but after that you can continue on to see how high you can go with the loops. It is such a long game mode, similar to Resistance, where you could be playing this for hours and hours and hours and hours, and if you die, that's it, you got to start again. You know, it's rogueliked, and yeah, there is no save points. You got to do it all in one sitting. very similar to Resistance in that respect. And that's why I've rated this high, because I really enjoyed Resistance, and I prefer the kind of mechanics around this mode to that, where you start with nothing and you make your build as you go along with the increase in difficulty. And I really do think this mode has a ton of potential. So I did say at the start of the video, I like Descent, and I'm looking forward to really getting into this, seeing how high we can get. But it is kind of at the same time too early to tell, which is why it's not rated higher than 3. And with time, I might actually drop this down below Resistance or even further if, I don't know, some things don't age well. Right now, though, I love this, and it does take my 3rd spot. At number 2, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be disagreeing with me on this, but it's Countdown. Now, there's not much to Countdown. You go in, and within 15 minutes, you're out. But it is an absolute loot cave. And at first, I hated this mode. I was bored. I stopped playing this mode. But when I really started getting into like making different builds and got on the build crafting again, this mode was just so much fun to play, to make those builds and grind and just play with friends and play with subs. So I've just had a ton of fun of it. And that's why I'm rating this so high. In the last year, not so much recently, because we haven't been playing the Division 2 that much, but I think in the last year, the most stream time we've had is on Countdown, playing with you guys, getting you all in, meeting you, grinding for things together, rainbow pieces. Who remembers that? Was it the Richter backpack that I wanted, where we had to get all 3? I think we went a total like 20 hours that week until it dropped, and it dropped for me, and we've just had so much fun. So maybe my judgment's kind of like clouded by that, with like just personally how much fun I've had on the mode, grinding builds with you guys in streams, and how much you've enjoyed it. But because of that and how much of a loot cave it is, I just think the mode's brilliant, especially for the PvE elements and making those builds. So it's ranked at number 2 for me. And finally, the number 1 spot for the best mode the Division has ever had is most certainly Survival. I don't even think there's a question about it. Again, it's all opinionated, and I'm sure people hate this mode. But Survival for me is one of the best things I've played. I got so stuck into this. When I first reached Endgame, the first thing I did on the Division 1 was check Survival out, and I died right away. It made me go back in. And that whole process of learning the mode, learning how to play it, learning where all the loot was, getting better of it, and working towards that first extraction was really amazing. I remember playing, I love the PvP side as well. Some people play PvE on it. They had PvE and PvP, but PvP was so intense. But my first actual extraction, I trained myself on Survival, was PvE, and it was great. I basically got carried to that extraction, and yeah, it was just an amazing feeling. I then took that and carried on. I wanted to get good at it. I met someone, and he kind of taught me the ropes. Conky, shout out to you. And it's just such a good game mode. I still play this to this day. I have breaks from it, but I'll always go back and we'll always play it. We've had tournaments on Survival. We've made 24 hunters spawn at once on Survival. It's just so good. It's kind of like Division's very own sort of like, they classed it as kind of like a battle royale sort of thing. And yeah, it brings that intensity, especially if you play PvP, and it's such a shame that they didn't do more with this. I think it had huge potential, has such a strong fan base, and obviously the Division Heartland's coming out, and I'm hoping that when Heartland does come out, it kind of takes over from this as the new king of this sort of genre. One absolute great game mode, and one of the only modes on the Division that I've kind of said, rather than let's play the Division today, it's let's play Survival today. So good. And that is it. I'm sort of hoping like Descent could kind of turn into like a Survival challenger for me, and it progresses and it gets that good. But you know, with the type of mode it is, where Descent is kind of like Resistance, where you just go for that high wave, there'll probably be a point where, you know, you feel you've got the highest wave you can get, and who wants to keep on putting 12 to 24 hours into getting that sort of result? Whereas Survival, although it was a long game mode, you're in and out within 2 hours max, so you'd always go back in. And even if you wanted to go for the high score and beat your personal best, again, you're only going to be there for 2 hours, not like 20 hours. So yeah, it's Division did good with Survival. It really is my favorite game mode that they've done, and I'm very excited for Heartland, because I do think people are calling it like Survival 2.0. It's going to be Division's new extraction shooter. It's gonna have survival elements, and I'm very happy that they're doing that. I was always concerned why they never brought survival over to the Division 2, because I thought, yeah, it's the best mode they've ever done. Why are they just leaving it where it was at? But thank you for watching today's video. I want to hear your thoughts. What are your favorite game modes on the Division 1 and Division 2? Let me know in the comments. Rank them. What do you think of Descent? Where do you place that? I know a lot of you are going to be saying the worst, but do some of you think it's the best? I just thought this would be a good video to do today. Don't forget to hit like and share to support it. Subscribe again if you're new to the channel and want to watch more content from me. And now we are done with the video. Make sure you come and check out our community linked at the top of the video description. Until next time, thank you for watching. Stay safe and peace out.